Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to day 21 of The Woman Called You to Over January. Quick one before I start, like I always like to just quickly do a recap, a preamble of what The Woman Called You is. We're a platform of women who choose and are committed to inspire change through personal growth. And this January, we're doing 31 days to declutter and deconstruct the mind to gain clarity. In the past 20 days, we've gone through different layers of what it will take to gain clarity. We've talked about how to declutter the mind. We've explored different techniques. I'm so happy with the feedback we got for the brain dumping technique and the solution numbering technique, amongst others. So yesterday we started, or 2 days ago, 19th, we started the section for gaining clarity itself. So we're going to do that for the rest of the weekend. Today is part one. How do I gain mental clarity? We previously, before this time, spoke about what it means to be mentally weak, what it means and indications that you are mentally strong. And of course, we said if you're mentally strong, good for you. But for those who do not know what it means or have ticked the boxes yesterday and realized that they are mentally weak and they lack clarity. We've decided to just discuss today the different ways we can gain clarity. And one thing I would like to bring to our knowledge today, as like I said yesterday, when a woman, I know this can apply to any man, as well, but I'm here talking to gorgeous women. So, if a woman chooses to embrace clarity, she needs to first understand that clarity itself is a prerequisite of living life intentionally. I mean, when you want to be deliberate and intentional, you must be clear about what makes you happy, what makes you healthy. I mean, what makes you loving and wonderful. And some people may say, without clarity, I can be all of that. But there's as far as lack of clarity can take you. But with clarity, you will choose happy. And happy is not necessarily how the world will define it. You might just be happy because you're content. You can be happy because you're healthy. You can be happy because, you know, you've got the kind of love you want. There's so many dimensions to being happy. But once there is confusion in your life, it takes away from those things that you otherwise would think will give you the kind of life you would value and be content with. So when we're talking about clarity, I'm just asking you here to just imagine a life with less confusion and doubt. Clarity will make everything easier. But like I said yesterday, it's not something you are born with. It's some people call it a skill, well, but I love to call it a capacity that you build, yes. And one thing about clarity, especially when you're somebody who has been lacking in clarity thus far, you must know that it requires change and commitment. And the woman called you, that's what we, are committed to do essentially. You can't give what you don't have. So you must first change before you can think of changing another person. So the truth is, if you are busy, if you are distracted, if you are overwhelmed, you can't say you have clarity. It's not possible. And one thing also, if you want clarity, what you're simply saying is that you want to be able to make better decisions. You want to have people see you as somebody who can be trusted. You want to be seen as somebody who can do meaningful work. Meaningful work. So before you can even begin to even talk about clarity, there are two things you need to understand. And number one of these two things is just this. To start seeking clarity, my sister, you must stop saying, I don't know what to do. I mean, if you're somebody who every time somebody asks you something, you're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. I don't know where to start. Before you know it, you're comfortable with ambiguity, and that's the truth. You must understand the importance of clarity. If somebody asks you a question, at least have an idea of what it's all about. I'm not saying when you know absolutely nothing about something, but some people, they're not even confident enough to air that thought that they have. So except you begin to think like this, I mean, like I always like to tell people, when I talk about clarity, I say, look, it's like deliverance of the mind. It's like deliverance of the mind. We just like to chalk down everything to, it's a spiritual thing. No, it's an intentional deliverance of the mind by changing your mindset, by deciding that I'm going to turn my back on ambiguity. It's either black or white. It's not going to be in between. I'm not going to be confused. And second thing rather that I would like to add is just simple. Whether you choose to begin today or tomorrow, you should understand that it's not a one-way street. Clarity is not single dimensional, it's multi-dimensional. It involves almost all of your senses. It involves everything. I mean, you must think, you must feel, and then the doing comes into it. I said it yesterday. No matter how much you conceptualize something, no matter how much you imagine something, except you do it, it remains in the realms of imagination. And clarity has to do with knowing what you need to do, focusing, and then seeing it through. And you'll see that when I say it's multidimensional, when you think about it, you'll be able to feel it in order to do it. So it's like a constant loop. There's this connection between thinking it, feeling it, and doing it. Remember what Mo Abudu always used to say in Moments with Mo. If you can think it, you can do it. But you see, with clarity, it's not only thinking it. You must feel it. You must feel it. There's this thing most men would say to their spouses when they say, I was feeling you. By the time you think about him, you begin to feel him. Then before you know it, you begin to yearn for him. And you either pick up the phone and you call him, or you go to where he is, or whatever. It's like a multi-dimensional three-way loop, So once you've decided that you want to create clarity, after you have said, I want to stop saying, I don't know what to do, then that's where the journey starts. That's where the journey starts. And like I said yesterday, I said clarity comes down to choices that you make. But before you make these choices, my dear sister, you must identify what matters. That's number one. Identify what matters to you. Nobody should tell you, I think, like maybe somebody's coming to talk to you about clarity and now tells you, hey girl, this is the first thing you ought to do. No, you on your own must truly identify what matters to you. What are the things you like? What are the things you love doing? What are the things that give you joy? In fact, if you're watching this thing or you watch it later, If you notice in the past 20 days, most of the time I'll say, bring out your pen, bring out your paper, because this is more like a teaching series. I'm not preaching, I'm not exhorting, doing any kind of exhortation. So if you can just oblige yourself, not obliging me, because you are the one who is making the choice to seek clarity, mental clarity, just bring out your pen and paper and write down 5 things. Yes, just 5 things. Call them your passion statements if you like. Divide it into 2 columns. 3 passion statements for your work, 3 passion statements for your life. And I tell you, passion statements, just for somebody who is just doesn't understand passion statements are not things like you say maybe. No. Passion statements are very, very precise. They are must. This thing I must do. Like I was telling you a couple of days ago, I decided I must change my relationship with food. I must change my relationship with food. I have a bad relationship with food, whereby I'm mentally weak when it comes to making choices in terms of food. So, one of my passion statements for my life is I must change my relationship with food. So you can just do it. Take a piece of paper, 2 columns, like I said. On this side, what are the passion statements for my passion statements for work? The second side, what are my passion statements for life? And you begin to just list them. Like I said, not maybe I want to change my relationship with food. No, I'm saying I must change my relationship with food. So, as you've listed these things down, I want you to just think about it. Think about it, because you know one thing you're going to do. For the things you have chosen as your passion statements, remember I said identify what matters. For the things you've chosen as your passion statements, I'm telling you, it doesn't matter what it is. It can be crazy. I was just using my own example because that's one of the immediate things for me. Begin to narrow your choices, because guess what? One of the things that will not give you mental clarity is when you want to do so many things at once. So decide the one that you know. If I decide to pursue this thing now to give me a headache, then pick the one that is a front burner issue for you. If you decide that I want my business to expand by so and so, no wahala, let it be a passion statement for work. But you know what you're going to do? When you choose that passion statement, like I have chosen my passion statement as in, I must, deal and reassess my relationship with food. You begin to narrow them. Please, I don't want you to be lost. This is a teaching session. You begin to narrow it down to pros and cons. I'm talking about myself here. You would have your own. Why do I need to reassess and readdress my relationship with food? One, the pros of it is, if I begin to eat healthy, I'll lose weight. If I begin to eat healthy, my health will be better for it. If I begin to eat healthy, there's every likelihood that when I lose weight, my sleep apnea would, definitely, regress. Of course, I'll be able to wear more appealing clothes. So I even have a lot of pros for my choice to have a better relationship with food. Then when I come to the cons, to be like, hey, God, remember mental clarity? Oh my goodness. That means I would have to stop my excessive cravings for amala. So you see, I'm giving you an idea of how to just put this thing down, because most of the time people just say things in theory. Oh, deal with this, your food thing. It will help you do this. But if you break these things down, whether it's a decision you need to take in the office, in your home, in anything, you will be able to choose what is best for you. And by the time you do the process of elimination by starting and saying, yes, I've put my passion statements, 3 for work, 3 for life. Out of the 3 I put for work, only 1 is top burner. You choose it. Second is top for life. Maybe the second out of the 2 is the top burner. You choose it. You do your pros and cons on this end. You do your pros and cons on the other end. Through process of elimination, my sister, you will know what is important for you. And when you find what you like and what makes you happy and keeps you alive, you will see you would have made a decision that would have removed every other thing that will give you immediate stress. And the next thing you will do after you've done your passion statement and you've done these first things I say you will do is you will begin to gain wisdom. You will begin to gain wisdom because you have to gain wisdom first. Like you see, this thing I've said, I'm using myself as an example. If now that I've said this is what I want to do, and I'm saying I need to put narrow choices, I don't want people to get confused because you have to narrow your choices first. Remember, in identifying your choices, identify what matters to you. You now narrow your choices. I said I was not going to put this thing up because it will slow me down. This is just part one. Then after you do your narrow your choices, you go and you gain wisdom. I've explained narrow your choices where you do your pros and cons and stuff like that. So the next thing you need to do is to gain wisdom first. And what do I mean by gaining wisdom first? In getting, whether it's mental clarity, clarity for your life, or whatever form of clarity you want. Now that I said I want to have a better relationship with food, it becomes interesting. I need to gain wisdom on everything I need to do. You know, some people just run into things, and when they get stuck halfway, they blame everybody. Oh, and you know, especially in Nigeria now where every business trends. I remember back then when GSM business started, when everybody knew that one particular brand was making so much money. Before you knew it, even with most people who didn't even understand what it took, didn't understand, you know, there was no due process. Most people just didn't bother with due process. Everybody just rushed into one form of business. But you see, when you know to gain wisdom, you begin to find out everything about that choice you have made. As usual, you will understand what are the pros, what are the cons. Say, whatever it will take, you can make an effort to research, you know. Whether we like it or not, Google is here to stay. I remember back then when the internet started, it was yahoo.com, but I wonder if anybody bothers with yahoo.com or even MSN, you know, and all that. So one thing you should understand is that there's so much information about that thing. The thing is, so many of us, especially when I see on social media these days, let me just digress a bit. You know, this thing about the rice, whatever, you know, the paddy rice, whatever, and the rice walls and buildings and all that. I remember when before you knew it, people were putting up some old pictures of framed pyramids, this, that. And you know, I fell into the fray, and I know I started making some kind of disparaging remarks and all that. But I stumbled on a discussion, and for me, I wouldn't. I have to be honest. I had no clue about what paddy rice was, so I had to ask. You know, because I wrote something about, oh, when is the rice going to go into the market and all of that, and somebody now mentioned and said it's paddy rice, and I said, can you just clear the air for me because I know absolutely nothing about paddy rice. And I now, when they explained it to me, I was like, wow. And most of us respond in our writing. I'm sure the half of us don't know about this thing. And I now said, okay, you know what I think people who are pro this or have the interest of government at mind, just full disclosure, explain it and all that, because on social media we're just caught up, we're throwing banters here and there, and it gets so vile sometimes, so vitriolic. And you know what? This person just posted a link for me. I was shocked. They have been talking a thing for months, and close to, I don't know, maybe like 2 years. Everything was there, you know, on the link she gave me. I went there and I read it and I said, God, ha! I fell into this thing of just joining the bandwagon. And that's what most of us do, that we end up not having mental clarity. We end up lacking in mental clarity because we just pick what somebody has dropped and we run with that baton, not having enough information. And that's the thing about your choices. Whatever your choices are, you need to have the prerequisite information wisdom of that choice that will make your life easier, that will make things clearer for you. And if we begin to walk like that, even as women, the choices we'll make at home that would otherwise cause us stress, do things, we'll be able to weigh the pros and cons. It's just like a woman now going to snoop around her husband's things and all of that. Before, if that is your passion statement that you need to know what your husband is doing at every point in time, you need to also sit down and weigh the pros and cons, because whatever the outcome of whatever you've done, it can have either a positive or negative impact on your mental health. And when we're talking about clarity of mind, we are saying that state of your mind that gives you and makes you the best version of yourself. So it takes time to really understand what it is you want. So like I said, when you've made your choices and you are right, and you're in this serene space that you're like, okay, I think I've weighed all the pros and cons and I'm going ahead. You will not go in feeling flustered because you have done what you ought to do. Call it due process, if you will. Then another thing one needs to do to gain clarity. Remember what I said when I talked about mentally weak people? They don't love to embrace solitude. They only get their strength in when there's a gathering of people and stuff like that. You need to begin to learn to spend time with yourself. If you remember when I talked about spiritual self-care, I said in the solitude, in the quiet, even for a Christian, you hear that's when I hear God speak and all of that. He even says, come, I'll show you things you know not. We have the example of Yeshua, who would always go apart and go and sit somewhere and go to the mountains to listen to God, spend some time with himself. So the thing is this: one of the ways we can, you know, develop mental clarity is being able to embrace our thoughts. If you're somebody who embraces solitude, at least, not as if I'm not saying, I'm not advocating for you to become an introvert, far from it, but you're able to do that. You'll see that if you are prone to negative thoughts, that's when you can confront them. If you sit down, you probably have like a brain block. Remember, I was talking about brain fog yesterday when it's like everything is foggy, but I didn't want to go into details because I said sometimes when we talk about brain fog, there's usually the underlying presence of some kind of mental disorder. But you see, if somebody can admit this, you know that sometimes when you're just quiet or just lying down, you're on your own, things you had been mulling over in your mind is like you begin to experience light bulb moments. I mean, because you know why? You're now paying attention to your thoughts. Most people that are lacking in mental clarity in the area of, like, say maybe they have a fixed mindset, they don't believe it's this way, it's this way. If you check it deep down, I would say thankfully, though it wasn't easy when it happened for me. I was in therapy because of the issues I had and all of that. 2007 for like 9 months in the year. Yeah. When I was in for treatment. So I know what it means to have, that state of it's just you, because it was all about relearning, on learning to relearn and all that, especially when you've been, an addict for so long. So I know what it means to just be stuck on your own and getting in touch with yourself all over again. All over again. And when you begin to embrace solitude, you notice that sometimes when you wake up in the morning, I talked about the to-do list the other time, you would have a routine of able to structure your day. If I ask you now, in all honesty, how many of you structure your days? If anybody is watching and you can just say yes, and I will applaud you. Because many people don't have a routine. I told you of how when I came out of treatment late 2007, for like 2 years, I had a daily routine register. Anybody who has been through data in Abeokuta will confirm this. Even when I was going back for, review, even after I was reintegrated into society, so to speak, I was taking my register for review because they would And at the end of the day, if they say sit down, look, that time, my goodness, in fact, my family didn't understand me because I knew to the minutest second what I used to do every day. I used to write it. I mean, I remember my husband used to just look at me like, I said, don't worry. I'm relearning how to be the best version of myself. And today I'm the better for it. You must begin to pay attention to everything about yourself. You must be determined. You must diffuse negativity. I mean, even if it means saying, Satan, the Lord rebuke you when those thoughts come into your mind. You must choose. You want mental clarity? You must begin to choose to focus on the good things. In the last couple of weeks, I've talked over and over about the need of, when the Bible tells you the tares and the wheat, focus on the wheat. During the harvest, there will be a separation. The thing about most of us, why we are denied mental clarity, why we lack it, is because we spend so much energy thinking about the things we have no control over. But you see, when you make your choices and you begin to walk towards your goal, and like I always say, in fact, somebody, probably you need to start writing your goals down. Put them up on a board somewhere. Put them up. Write your goals down. Some people, like I said the other day, need to run away from social media for some time because of the stress. Because of the stress. Because of the vial that goes up there every day. You want mental clarity? You need to take a social media fast. You want balance. When you're taking such a fast, when you are embracing yourself, take it upon yourself to begin to write down your goals. Remember your goals. Understand me, your goals are different from your passion statements that I talked about in the beginning. You can, if you're just joining in now, you can go later and read and listen to what the passion statements are. And when you are able to write down your goals and go through them, before you know it, find people with similar goals. That's why if you see the Oyimbos, you see they have support groups, they have guilds. And here, sorry, amongst women here, there's so much competitive spirit. There's a candle group, because I recently took up candling. There's a candle group, in fact, quite a number of them. If you're with me and you see my news feed on social media, you just shake your head, because it's candling or let us sew or something, because I knew how debilitating the things that were popping up on my newsfeed, Nigeria, this, that. It was getting to me. So my newsfeed now, it's almost like a learning platform for me. You understand? So I see on the candling group that I belong to, you see women coming there and say, I'm thinking of doing squeezable wax melts. Can I have you share your ideas on your packaging, on your this, on your that. You see different people putting up their pictures, giving ideas. Oh, I used this week. Do you think it's okay? You just see the Oyimbos, they're putting it up, and I'm like, gosh, why wouldn't they be relaxed in this thing? Not making light of the fact that they don't have issues, but little things like this that are otherwise stressors for us. You see people of like minds that will help you, push on towards your goal. It helps with mental clarity, because having decided to take action, you are not alone when it comes to figuring out how to get to where you're going to. You are not alone. You are not alone. You see, for the things I've spoken about today, because there's still part 2 tomorrow, I don't want to belabor us. I want somebody to go back and just listen, just experience the stillness of your mind. In fact, that is one thing you get if you read a lot of Deepak Chopra and all that. I don't really believe in New Age. I'm a Christian to the core, but I'm a reader. When you go through your goals and all that, you get the right information. I was just talking about the candling group I belong to and all of that. When you have the right mentors, it helps you with clarity of mind. Will helps you with clarity of mind. I'll look for a quotation I'll share with us tomorrow. There's this guy, I think it's Greek or whatever, whether epic something. I'll try and remember his name. The guy who talked about the fact that everybody carries seeds of greatness. That we carry seeds of greatness. And he said something about, you need like a focus. You need something to focus you towards that direction. And that's where mentorship comes in. The right kind of mentors, when you seek help from them, it helps you. It helps you a great deal. So I talked about embracing yourself. I want to put it up so someone can see it later, because I said when you spend time with yourself. I remember that's what I said. So let me just quickly put it up, because I'm rounding up this session now, and we will continue tomorrow, because I have quite a lot of tips to help us gain clarity. So that spend time with yourself, I talked about it, embracing your solitude. Then I talked about set your goals in writing. Set your goals in writing. And I also talked about, and that's the last one I talked about today, after setting your goals in writing, you need to, yes, I'm trying to quickly type it out. It's about getting the right kind of mentors. Let me just call it seek help from mentors. Yep. So we are good. Seek help from mentors. So that's it for today. I've just spoken about or mentioned about 6 things here to help us build mental clarity. I said number 1, identify what matters. Go back and hear what I had to say about that. 2, narrow your choices. 3, gain wisdom first. Spend time with yourself. Set goals in writing. And finally, seek help from mentors. So for these things, I would expect that you just go back, you do a little bit, and that's the takeaway really that I'm giving us this night. Just go back, see if you can do your passion statements. I know writing your goals are not just something that you can just come up with like that. You can always spend time and think about it, but I would just like for you to do your passion statements. Actually, it's night, so by the time you sleep and wake up in the morning, you probably have a degree that creates, the life you want. You just have to consciously, I want, and my desire really, is for each and every one of us to just take responsibility for creating clarity in our lives, and just taking every positive step possible, to get at least our legs or leg into the door, and just get the kind of clarity we need for every step of our lives. And I know, like I always say, there's always a component of faith for me. God is faithful in all I've been saying in the past 21 days. Actually, if you go back to listen to spiritual self-care, we can't do this without, acknowledging a higher power in our lives. So just one day at a time, and before you know it, you've gained the clarity you seek. So good night and God bless you.